Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 82 of Petey's Awesome Guest Panel. Now, before I meet tonight's awesome, iconic actor, let me just tell you a little bit about this man. This is the man who in 2000 starred in Scary Movie, played a disabled cop by day and a awesome evil genius by night. Fast forward to 5 years later in 2005, he also played another cop, but this time as a badass cop by the name of Ray Dobson. And with that being said, this is also a man who knows how to end a movie on an awesome badass ending. My guest at this time is Mr. Dave Sheridan. Dave, how are you today, sir? Welcome.
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. I'm awesome. Welcome. I'm glad to be on your show.
So
What's it called again? What's it called again? Petey something?
Petey's Awesome Guest Panel?
There you go. And I guess I'm the awesome guest.
Yes, you are. Now, before we get into the questions, though, I just want to say that, I've been a fan of your work since I was a kid, so I'm going to be like a child at heart during this interview. So just don't mind me.
All right. I won't. I'll try not to.
The first question I have, and this is your typical cliche question, and that is, how did you get your first start into acting? Take me there.
Well, how did I get the first start? That's a good question. Into acting, I would say, I went to Second City in Chicago and I studied there and performed on stage there. So that would be my first start, would be on stage there professionally, I guess is what you're saying. And then from there, I went on to MTV and developed Buzzkill on MTV, which was like a sort of precursor to Jackass and Punk'd and stuff like that. So.
Cool. And of course, I mean, as a longtime veteran, iconic actor, are there any methods or preparations you do before you do a particular role?
Every role is different. So every sort of preparation I take differently. So certainly if like I see you have Ghost World up there with Doug and that was, I was in very good shape in that movie. So that one was a few months of working out and dieting and not, eating calories and stuff like that. And then also practicing the nunchucks and stuff. But, and then you've got Devil's Rejects. The preparation for that was, okay, I got to grow a beard like I have now and shave it into those mutton chops. And I was growing my hair out and feathered it. And so each little role is different. Doofy, I had to cut my hair all goofy and stuff. So sometimes it's just as simple as preparing physically, like I just did a movie, another Marlon Wayans movie called The Curse of Bridge Hollow. And in that film, I had red hair. I played this pumpkin farmer and I had this really short, weird Amish permed red hair that I dyed my hair red. And then I grew a Amish beard and dyed that red. So I'm really into definitely facial hair and hair and stuff like that changing. I like to change my looks in all my characters. I think that helps me that's where it starts. The physicality of the character. And then that helps me kind of find the voice and find the mindset and how he walks, whatever. But a lot of it, of lately, because I do like a whole bunch of low budget horror movies now, and they come so fast. And I usually only take the ones where I feel like that's an interesting character. I know the movie's crap. I know it's probably not going to be that good of a movie, but I want to make sure that I have fun playing the character and that it is a character that I maybe haven't done before or something that I can bring to it. And usually when I take the roles, I, have a discussion with the director that they're going to let me create a character the way I want to do it. So now that mostly implies when you're saying preparations going on Amazon or I call it Amazon because I shop at a very high-end place for all my character glasses and shirts and underwear, whatever it might be. You know what I mean? But there's not too many roles where it's sort of like a Daniel Day-Lewis, like, whoa, I've got to do some research or I've got to really prepare. I would. It's just that the films I'm doing now don't really play into having that much of an intensity to the characters. There was one film and it was called Bloodcraft. You can look it up, Bloodcraft. Okay. I think I did that like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And I play a priest who's like a child molesting priest, and it's really dark. And I have to give this girl an abortion with she's like 13. It's very dark, and it's the darkest thing I've ever had to play. So that one definitely took a little bit more, believe it or not, like I had to take that serious. And so I did do some more preparation with that, you know, like I went to some churches to go to masses to kind of get because there is a scene where I'm giving a sermon, you know, and I'm the priest at the pulpit and stuff like that. So and I did, you know, listen to a lot of Christian radio and just try to get the gist of the verbiage and what they talk and how they talk. And, you know, I wanted to come across somewhat authentic because that's something. And, you know, if I played a doctor in more than just like one scene, if it was a movie where I'm a doctor for a good stretch, then I would probably go online and look at what is my specialty for the doctor. Okay, my ear, eyes, and nose, throat doctor. Then I'm going to go and read up on a whole bunch of stuff so that I'm at least coming from somewhere, because I like to improvise. And when you improvise, you have to have some knowledge that you're spewing out, you know.
Yeah.
In a new movie that I have coming out this in like 2 weeks called The Christmas Tapes, and I play a paranormal investigator, you know, who is called by this family that they're having things happen at their house, and they don't know what's going on, so they call Paranormal Perry, who is got his own YouTube ghost hunting show, and he shows up. And that was another role where it's like, oh, I better watch some of those ghost hunting reality shows to understand the, you know, just the mechanics of the devices that they use, what they're called, some of the lingo, you know what I mean? Yeah. But at the same time, my character was sort of like, does he know what he's doing or not? So it was sort of like that kind of Ghostbusters thing where I was just making up a lot of lingo, you know, and it's like, is that even a real word? You know, that kind of stuff.
So like when you get into preparation though, would you say it's sort of like getting into like method acting?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I wouldn't say I'm a method. I've never done that full method acting to the extent of really immersing myself into these characters. I'm sort of, I would say, method light, because when I do get into the characters on set, when I do get into the characters while we're shooting, I definitely try to immerse myself inside the physical form. You know, they do. Yeah, they get into certain places of your brain, like Doofy, for instance, because I still do Doofy at like conventions and stuff like that. And I when I'm done doing him, my head hurts like right here. So I know that a lot of him resides in like this part of my brain, you know, whatever I'm saying and however I'm acting. And like Doug is more like back here. So and I'm only saying that because like you're done and you're like, oh God, that I kind of hurt back here. You know what I mean? So I could feel like you're not Dave, so you're partitioning parts of your brain, and you're finding that the characters are going to a certain section of the brain a little bit more intense, so you can physically feel it.
So like when you do like, because you played cop roles many times, of course,
that's right.
Officer Doofy and Ray Dobson. Like, do you find like it's interesting too because you play two different cops? Like one is obviously incompetent, the other one is more serious minded and more of a badass. Like how do you feel like when you have to portray like the same type of profession but in a different personality?
Yeah. Well, they're completely different people, and Doofy's not really a cop. He's a student that you know that they're just letting play cop. You know what I'm saying? He's not actually a cop. So it's like, oh, okay, oh yeah, we let him wear that uniform, and how to get back in here again, you know, that kind of thing. So, but I've played sheriffs, deputies, and I'm actually working my way up. And recently I passed on a couple sheriffs because a lot of these horror movies, there's always the sheriff in a horror movie and like the ranger, you know. So it's like, I passed on the last couple police officer roles because I've done a lot of them, and I don't want to. Nothing against that. I mean, when you're a certain type, then they go, oh, he's perfect to play the sheriff or the deputy or the ranger or whatever. And but now I've moved my way up to mayor. I've been a mayor, I've been a governor. So in the sort of social circles of like, you know, community service, I'm working my way up, which is kind of funny.
Total hierarchy, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know. I don't want to go down. I don't want to be a garbage man all of a sudden. I'm
You know
working my way to president or senator.
Absolutely. And I have a question too, like in regards to acting, because you have lots of years of experience in acting. And this is my next question, which is raw emotion. If you were given a scenario in which you and your fellow co-star, have to do a scene in which you have to, you guys get into this heated argument in which you have to yell at this person. Now, in this scene, this guy comes up to you and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Sheridan, Sheridan, there is a scene where in which we have to get into a heated argument. Now, I know this is going to sound very weird, but I need you to make me cry for real. That way we can tell a story. That way it's believable and people will blur the lines between what's real and what's reality. And if you were approached with this, how do you react and what would you tell the co-star?
Well, I don't think I would. I would say we'll do it. We're going to do it, man. We're going to do it right there in the spot. Like you got to be in the moment, first of all. So for me, I would have already known that in the script, okay, just to say like, oh, we're going to be doing this. The only thing I would probably say is, hey, I'm going to really be in this moment, so I'm probably going to grab you. Is it all right if I grab you? I might, if I grab you too hard in the first take, you let me know, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to like really grab you. And then, is it all right if I slap you? You know what I'm saying? Can I hit you a little bit? Okay. I'm not going to hit you too hard, but you let me know if I'm hitting you too hard. I would, but just to let you know, in reality, I'll tell them that or her, I'll probably grab them really hard and slap them really hard the first time, knowing that like, that's probably the most I'm going to get away with. So I do, but you can't. I did one where I was slapping the guy really hard and getting in there. And you know what I mean? Like I was in there. And what happens is you start slapping somebody and then he started swelling up. You know what I mean? His eyes started swelling up. So then, then you can only take so many more takes because it's like not going to match. He's already beat up. So you're not supposed to be touching people, but I do. It really depends if it's a give or take. So I'll try to give them what they need to get to that crying moment or get to that frustration moment. You know what I mean? And you'll feel it. They'll feel it, and I feel it. I feel when two actors connect and those two emotions start to play like a dance, it starts to, like a good dance, then it starts to really flow. I've never really had any problem connecting with other actors, whether it's on a comedy side or an emotional side. I've actually been, I think that's a blessing. On the other side is the actors I've worked with have always been able to give it to me, which would help. It helps me. So I've never been in a position where it's like somebody's like, oh, you're not helping me cry. You're not helping me get to the cry. That would be I wouldn't say that's upsetting, but as an actor, you definitely want to be there in that moment to help your fellow castmate,
Yes.
So I've never been in a situation where after two or three takes, it's like, yeah, I'm just not getting there. I'm not connecting with him or he's not helping me. So I don't know if that's a testament to me or a testament to them or just a testament to both of us just making it work. And it's always seemed to work for me. So on those kind of things, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I agree with you.
I've been in scenes where things have gotten a little out of control. One in particular was just because of your movies that you have up there, Bill Forsythe, and Leslie Easterbrook in this scene down in the basement at the police station where he's jamming her up against the wall.
Oh yeah.
And he's choking her. And that was all real. And she got pissed. She got a little too pissed that he was being too physical and too hard with her, because there is at a certain point, you're an actor. And of course he was like, that's bullshit. I was not. She's just saying that. And, but the performance speaks for itself. If you watch that part of the movie, it's intense on both of them. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's actually one of my favorite movies too.
It was intense for me, by the way, because it was myself and Chris, the other deputy, and I'm standing there like holding like in bloody shirt and like files and stuff. And it was intense to watch, you know what I mean? Like when were we going to step in and pull him away? You know what I mean? Like, how long do we let it go? And that was almost like a fellow police officer going like, there's an interrogation thing. And when it goes too far, and this was back in the 70s. So this wasn't like, oh, there's cameras and now there's, you can't, there's zero tolerance and you're going to get fired or you're going to get charges pressed against you. Back then, cops didn't get thrown in jail for being too rough to a bad guy. Nowadays, they can get their own charges pressed against them and in jail. So I can see how maybe a cop might react faster nowadays, but back then it was like, that's my sheriff. I'm letting him do it, but I know he's crossing the line, but where do you step in? You know what I mean? So in that scene, we're sort of struggling emotionally with when do we stop him? You know what I mean? We don't want him to kill her, obviously, but he knows what he's doing, right? He's not going to kill her. He's not going to choke her out. So yeah, exactly. So.
And I asked that question too because there was a similar scene in that movie in which Sherry Zombie Moon, Sherry Moon's pardon me, was in a scene with Priscilla Barnes, and in this particular scene, she kept smacking Priscilla Barnes for real. And I think Priscilla Barnes, according to the auto commentary, Sherry said that Priscilla kept telling her, hit me harder, and she took it like a champ.
Yeah. That was in the hotel room.
Yeah.
When they got them in the hotel room, Banjo and Sullivan. Yeah. And that's the thing is, that's why if you're on the one side of the hitting, meaning you're the person, the actor hitting, my dog, get up there. Come, up.
Oh,
let's see.
Beautiful.
I know, but she won't leave me alone now. Like she was like, I was talking, she's like, no, come here. No, me. Okay, go away. So, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. If I was going to physically touch somebody in a scene, whether it's hitting or choking or pushing or grabbing, you definitely have to respect their physical boundaries, and you have to respect the fact that you're even touching them. You don't want to be accused later of physical damage or like improper touching and stuff like that. So you definitely have to have all of that ahead of time. Say, hey, is it all right if I grab you? Is it all right if I'm going to push you against the wall, but not too hard? Let me know if I push you too hard. A lot of times the actors will tell you on the other side, they want to feel it too. They want to be in that scene, but but every now and then there's an actor that's like, I don't want to get hit. You just, with the camera angle, just make it look like that. Like you are hitting me, you know what I mean? You got to stop, so it depends on what actor you're dealing with. I would say you don't want to get hit too many times. That's what I discovered when I was slapping this guy, and it's a movie called Cold-Blooded Killers, where I'm slapping this bar. I'm the main heavy, and then we take over this bar, and the bartender and his family are tied up, and I'm just slapping the crap out of him, and he's snotting and drooling and crying. And I'm like, you're going to cry in front of your wife and kid? Come on, man. Like, get your shit together. And I'm slapping him. And I said, it's not too much, is it? It's not too hard, is it? And he's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. But then I realized he started swelling up. That's what the part I told you. So you definitely don't want to do, when Priscilla was going, hit me harder. It's like, there might be other scenes you got to shoot. You don't want to knock her tooth out or break a nose. You know what I mean? So that's it is dangerous in the sense of, well, it's dangerous in that sense of hurting someone, but it's also you have a responsibility to the film shoot. You know what I mean? You don't want to. I did a movie, Victor Crowley. Did you see Victor Crowley?
I got to see that one.
It's very good. It's a great movie. And but Kane Hodder plays Victor Crowley, and Chase Williams was one of the kids getting killed. He comes smashing through the window, and he's choking Chase Williams, and it's like a choking scene. And then I think he takes a hammer eventually and smashes his head in. But while he's choking him and they're fighting, Kane choked him so hard that he broke all of Chase's blood vessels in his eyes. So the next day he had it was all red, you know what I mean? Like red, like broken blood vessels. It looked like a demon's eyes, right? And we were unable to shoot for any more with that guy for a whole week. They changed the whole schedule. We had to move around. And also there was oh boy, is he going to sue the production? And then, Kane was like, I didn't choke him that hard. I did not choke him at all. and Kane was saying he was choking himself. He was making himself, and that could be true, because an actor, you can hold your breath and put so much pressure up there, you could pop your blood vessels. I wasn't there. I could really care less because the movie's great and it went on and everybody's friends. But again, something like that happens, then it upsets the schedule. It upsets the whole thing. So you definitely don't want to get too truly physical with somebody on set. It is acting, but you want to give them enough on both sides to get into it and feel it. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. And before I ask the next question, though, which is going to be the scary movie question, I just want to know, like, dude, the actor that played Greg in the movie, I'm trying to remember what the
Lachlan Monroe.
that guy, that gentleman. Every time he did a scene with Anna Faris, he always put her hands on her in the movie. Was he really legit doing that, or was that like stunt double, like a stunt person, like when he was attempting to do all that?
Oh no, I think that was him.
That's why I was so concerned when I was a little boy watching this. I was so concerned, like for Anna Faris, like watching the scenes, because like holy shit, he's choking her. Holy shit, he's doing an elbow on her.
Yeah, I remember that now. He'd be like, right. She'd say something. He goes, "We're gonna." Yeah, he was just really over violent and stuff like that. Yeah. It was him, but it was, again, he was not truly rough with her. You know what I mean? There was definitely stunts and there was pads and stuff like that. So
Oh, okay. And of course, with that being said, I gotta get your memories of working on the 2000 scary movie as Officer Doofy and working with the cast. Of course, Sherry O'Terry, the Wayans brothers, Anna Faris, you name it.
yeah, I mean, it was my first real feature film. I did a lot of stuff before that, but that was the big start. You know what I mean? Like getting cast in that and doing that film. And we went up to Canada and we lived with that group, and we were all somewhat young. And I mean, like Anna Faris was like 20. So but we all lived in the same hotel together on location. In Vancouver, we had for per diem. And so can you imagine, you're out with 10 people, that's $3,000 of money collectively to go to a bar. And like we had a lot of fun. And so it was a great experience. And that's, it is what it is. I still am in touch with John Abrahams. I think that's basically, yeah, it was fun. It was good to get films that I did. I think I actually have that tape.
Oh,
right here.
you got the VHS? Oh,
Yeah, it's called
awesome.
American Chameleon. And you could see, and there's actually Doug from Ghost World's in that one too. This was a series of like short films that I did. And this is what people saw. This is before YouTube. You'd get VHS tapes and then you dub the VHS tapes and they would be sent around. That's how things went viral back in the early 90s. And so on that that's my first sort of feature film. It's really an anthology of two shorts with this character Chip, and that character Chip is Doofy, and so Miramax saw this American Chameleon and said, "Oh, we want that guy. That character, that's our Doofy. That's what we want." And they contacted me and they said, "Would you play Chip in this movie as a character named Doofy?" And I read it and I said, "Okay, great. I'll do it as long as I get to play Ghostface." Because the script already had me as Ghostface, but I said, no, I want to be in the Ghostface mask. I want to be in the robe. I want to do the voice, because there's a lot of comedy in that, and physical comedy. I was like, I'm going to be represented at the end of the movie. To be on me, or if it gets a lot of good laughs, I want that to be because of me. And they let me do that. They were like, "Yes, please, we want you to do it. We Ghostface character pay any more money." And I said, "That's fine." So I actually worked every day on that movie. I was the only actor every day, and because they already made a deal for me just to be Doofy, which was a certain amount of days.
Oh,
Oh, but now
oh, okay. And did you have a favorite Doofy line? Because I have so many of them. But before I say mine, I would love to hear your favorite Doofy line.
oh man, I mean, there's a lot of them, but I would probably say, uh, he cares, smell my finger. That's probably my favorite one, only because that came out of my first meeting with Keenan Ivory Wayans, where Chip, he did that. He didn't say smell my finger, but he always went up with his like stinky hands and said, "Give me five, give me five." Yeah. And I did that underneath. And I would always shove that in my pants and make them stink. And then I went up to Keenan, I was like, "Yeah, good to meet you. Give me five, give me five." And he's like, "Oh my God." And he was like, "Dude, did you really shove your hand up your?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I did." And he was like, "We got to put that in the movie." So that's how that smell my finger came about. So,
I'll tell you two of mine. One was when you go, "Hey Sin, I got your ice pack," and you throw it right at her. Did
yeah,
that
right.
actually connect on Anna or no? Did she really?
Yeah,
Oh wow, took it
yeah,
like a
yeah, yeah. There wasn't ice in there though. There was like cut up foam.
Oh
And
okay.
then they put the sound in. So when I threw it, it just had like foam in it. You know what I mean? And I threw it, I think, with this hand and went, "Here you go." But I think off screen, then I launched it with my regular hand. You know, I pitched it in there and just like nailed her with it.
But you said that you were in the costume for Ghostface, right? Did you do
Yeah,
that famous rap he did? Was that you?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
can I recite that rap to you to pay homage to you?
Sure, I'll tell you a little story about that rap. Go ahead.
Okay, so I remember it was like this when you go, yeah, I'm gonna slash you, gash you, cut a little hole in your ass. I spill blood on my walls and play tennis with your balls. If the phone rings, don't answer the call. Gonna slit your throat, fuck you like a goat, peel your foreskin off and make a winter coat. Peace.
There you go. Got it. You got it. Now that I improvised, I came up, I knew I was gonna rap, and even on set, they go, "Think of some stuff you're gonna do." And I kind of like wrote it all down, you know what I mean? And then we do ADR. So ADR is additional dialogue recording. Before the movie comes out, if there's any places that, like with Ghostface, it was easy because it's like, "Oh, we wrote a few more jokes, let's do them now," because you can't see the mouth. But also if there's things that like, "Oh, your whistle was making a sound, so we need that clean," or there was an airplane going across and we took that out, so we need to just re-say that line. You know what I mean? They clean up audio in the studio. And I wasn't aware that they were like, then they got there and they said, "Oh, can you go out and write a second verse to that rap? Because we did a song and we want you to rap to an actual music, and then we're going to put that as the credits." So if you watch the end credits of the movie, I'm rapping that the whole second, third verse of that rap in the with the Bloodhound Gang. It's
Oh,
called The Killer. Yeah.
cool stuff. And can I say too that you didn't like I said, you end the movies in the most badass way. I don't think when I watched this in theaters, when you slowly realize that it was Doofy and he's not disabled, he knows exactly what he's doing. You ripped up the mustache, you light up the cigarette, you jump in the car with Sherry O'Terry, you drop the backpack. I think that was like an awesome ending like to a movie. And whatever happened to that backpack? Did you ever see it again?
I didn't. No, 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 no. I had but the stuff he pulls out, I kept. I kept the mask and the robe and all that stuff.
Oh,
The
that's
knife.
cool.
I have that. But the backpack, why do you have it?
No, no, I wish I did. I wish I did.
I do think I did see it. There is a guy in Connecticut that has the backpack, the Doofy, the real Doofy jersey. He also has another mask. And I think he has the walkie-talkie. So I did see somebody post that they have all that stuff. I wouldn't mind getting it from him someday. I do cosplay as Doofy, and I have a version of that backpack, but it's not the same backpack.
Oh, okay. And you've worked very closely with Sherry O'Terry on film. What was it like working with her?
I loved working with her. It's just funny that I've never worked with her again since with anything, but she's amazing. She is amazing, great improviser. She's a big ball buster. So, she likes to make fun of you a lot. So like I had to put up with that, but I didn't mind it.
Cool. And of course, another one of my favorite movies that you were in was, and I'm a big Rob Zombie fan, and that is The Devil's Rejects. Memories of doing this film as Deputy Ray Dobson.
Yep. Yeah. I loved him. Liked working with Rob. It was great. And that's a great cast. It's an awesome cast.
Absolutely, the late great Sid Haig, Sherry Moon Zombie, Bill Mosley,
Yep.
of course, like you said, William Forsythe, Priscilla Barnes, Leslie Easterbrook. It was like an all-star cast. I mean, you had Danny Trejo in there,
Yeah,
Diamond
Danny
Dallas Page.
Trejo. Yeah, yeah. And Lou Temple and PJ Souls, Karen Black. I mean, it's just there's so many people. Michael Berryman, you know, it's
Ken Foree.
yeah, Ken Foree, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really I didn't realize how iconic the cast was in the horror world. You know, when I was shooting it, I didn't realize that he kind of ensembled the sort of all-star horror world of, you know, iconic horror actors. Because
Ah,
I wasn't a huge horror fan. And then once I understood it, then I'm like, wow, I'm like in an instant classic. So
and I waited a long time to ask this question to you, and that is because, like I said before, you know how to end a movie. You always end in the most badass way. Like in this particular one was the police shootout at the end between where they shoot up they shoot up Baby, Captain Spaulding, and Otis.
right, right.
Talk about this particular scene shooting and how many times did it take to do this thing? I feel like this is my opinion, but it felt like this scene like took more than one take to do. But I could be wrong.
I think it only took two takes on our end and maybe even on their end because the one thing about that movie, and it wasn't the last one I worked on that was shot this way, but it was near the end guns with live bullets. I mean, obviously the Alec Baldwin thing happened, but that in that movie they were not shooting with blanks. They were not shooting. Somebody accidentally put a live round in a gun that they were never shooting blanks at all in that movie with the Alec Baldwin thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It just happened to be a live round was put in that because someone was fucking around with those guns over the weekend. In this particular case, in our movie, we didn't shoot real bullets. We shot blanks. We shot real, you know, cases with, you know, gunpowder in it and everything. There wasn't too many because it was right near the beginning of the digital where they could digitally just put the lights in the thing and recoil. So all of our guns were real guns. We were shooting real rounds, except they just didn't have bullets. And so, and then they also, on their things exploding, were filled with, you know, what the squibs. So they were electronically, boom, getting, you know, the blood and everything like that, and little explosions and stuff. And in our shootout at the house, the cars had explosions. You know, that's why I'm wearing. That was one of the reasons I actually had those yellow glasses on, was to protect my eyes because real rounds, you know, there's these thing called salt blanks where they're like bullets, except they disintegrate when they hit. And so the stunt coordinator, who was actually Kane Hodder, who was famous for playing Jason, he was shooting at me. He's shooting back. He's shooting these blank rounds that are like these salt bullets. So when they hit, they sort of explode, but they'll do enough damage to the car. So you could see like where sparks and stuff are coming off from the bullets. But he's like, oh, go get some glasses because I'm going to try to get as close to you as possible. And I don't want anything to get in your eyes. So that's how that whole, like, those iconic, like, yellow glasses came in because I got behind the door there and he wanted to shoot me really close. And I could feel some things hit my face. So with that said, when you have that many guns going off and that many rounds of live ammunition, they didn't have bullets, but it's still live ammunition being fired out of all those guns. You don't take too many takes because, you know, each one is like, it's just a lot. There's a lot of safety. You got to check all the guns. You got to reload. There's just a lot that goes into it. So we probably did two rounds only because you could shoot like when on our side, we just shot for like 10 minutes. You know, the camera's just going around catching everybody. And then on the car ride where they're all getting shot up, that was all in slow motion and stuff. So once they tape everything in there and then they go, okay, we're rolling. All right, set the squibs off. Boom, 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 you know? So, believe it or not, it probably didn't take as long as it, you know, I don't remember it taking that long to shoot, except for getting out there in that road, because that was way up in the hills in the desert. And so just going out there and the setup and the safety and the helicopter, I think there was a helicopter shot. So you had to wait for that to come by. So yeah.
Would you say that is it similar, like the Alec Baldwin thing? Would you say it was similar to like what happened to Brandon Lee at the Crow in the Crow, or no?
Nope, not even close. No.
Okay.
So, in the Crow was similar to what we did, which was shooting blanks. They were shooting blanks because back then that's what it was. And in this particular case, on blanks, on the blank bullet, and I wish I had one here to show you, but the casing, instead of where the bullet part, the little actual metal missile projectile, instead of that being there, there'll be some wax. There'll just be like a pre-cut plastic or wax type of thing that's holding the charge in with the paper and all the various things. And that gets blown open. And then there is stuff that comes out of a gun, even in blanks. There's going to be paper discharge and stuff like that. But in this particular case with Brandon, is it Brendan or Brandon?
Brandon Lee, Brandon,
yeah. A piece of the casing, a piece of the metal casing with that plastic broke off. Cracked, and it broke off and shot through the barrel. So it was almost shrapnel. So really he got hit by like a shrapnel from the piece of metal. And it just, it was just, yeah.
Oh, okay. And
you know what I mean? I mean, it was just like the perfect, that was years ago. I didn't Google it. You know, in whatchamacallit's case, Baldwin's was a bad business, bad practice across the world. Like there was no, I don't think there was any malpractice in Brandon's situation. That's just a bad accident that occurred in just a weird, lucky way of perfect. Everything just went the wrong way perfectly. Alec Baldwin's case, he had a 6-shooter, and with the 6-shooter, you could see the bullets. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir. You actually, in the revolver, right?
Yeah. Yes. And so what they wanted to see those bullets in there because it was a close-up. They wanted to see the bullets. So that's when you're not even using the bullet. You're using a dummy bullet. And a dummy bullet doesn't have any gunpowder in it. A dummy bullet is just nothing. It's a toy. You can make a keychain out of it. You could buy those at the Army Navy or whatever. Or Hobby Lobby, a dummy bullet. So do you understand what I'm saying? It looks like a real bullet, but it won't fire.
Without the gunpowder, it's useless.
Exactly. And so when you put that next to a real bullet, to an untrained person, they might look exactly the same. And so they got mixed, a real bullet or real bullets got mixed in or mistaken for dummy bullets. And then they were put into the gun. He thought he had an unloaded gun full of dummy bullets, so that you could see the thing. But if he pulled the trigger, it shouldn't fire, And so that's that particular case. Now, I don't know enough about dummy bullets on set. I've never worked with them. So I don't know. What I'm talking about is making a movie with dummy bullets. I don't know what goes into play in terms of, for instance, there's a pin, the shooting pin, whatever you want to call that. Rocco, what's that little thing called on the bullet at the very back? The ignition pin or whatever? All right. You know what I'm talking about.
A trigger, like it's a trigger pin, right?
Yeah. And that part gets tapped by the trigger part. You know what I mean? And it sparks and it sets the whole thing on fire, right? So in my particular thought, like dummy bullets shouldn't have that. They shouldn't even have that little piece there. That should already be dented in or just completely removed because you're not going to see the end of that, unless I guess they want to see something where it does this. So I don't know, but I personally, if I was working with those, I'd want the pin either removed or tapped in to see that, like, yeah, this can't fire. It's been fired. You know, there's nothing there to hit. You know
For
what I mean?
safety for safety purposes, of course, right?
Right, exactly. So, but again, I don't know. Maybe they were like that, and somebody's so stupid that they didn't see that this one's a real bullet. It has an actual ignition pin or whatever they call it, firing pin. Yeah.
Wow. Um, any funny stories, behind the scenes stories that you had working on the Devil's Reject?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you one, but I like how we shifted from these people dying on set and dummy bullets. But let me tell you another funny story.
I try to change the mood up a little bit.
You know, you were getting really, you're about to cry. Give it to you. How do you, I'm gonna tell you how to get into it. How do you prepare to be like angry and frustrated? I beat some fucking yes, fucking pass is what I do. That's what I do. I think about that time I was on Peak Awesome podcast. Yes.
Mr. Sheridan,
Understand?
Mr. Sheridan, if you were trying to make me break character, mission accomplished.
That's what I do. That's how I get into character. Brought to you by Car Wash. Car Wash Concentration. Duragloss 901.
See,
if you need a car dirty and glossy, use Duragloss 901.
See, there you go. Acting and advertisement in one shot. You nailed it again, Mr. Sheridan.
So, funny story on Devil's Rejects. I think one funny thing is that, like, I improvise, and I always try to, like, I tried to be a little funny on that movie. You know what I mean? Like, I tried to be the guy saying some witty things or something. So there was a scene down in the basement at the Firefly house where we're collecting all the evidence, and I see this stuff and newspaper articles and stuff, and I call William Forsythe over and go, hey, look at this. And, there's something about like all these different Marx Brothers names or something like that. You think that this has anything to do with anything? And then he said, well, why don't you gather all that up and bring it to evidence? And then he leaves. And before this, I noticed that in some scenes that Bill never let me have the last line.
Oh.
And I said that to Rob, I go, look, every time I go to have some sort of ending line, he always has to have another line on top. He can't let me have the last line in the scene. And I go, watch what I do here. And then so it was a still frame that hey, Sheriff, I call him over. I say, look at this stuff. And this could be evidence. And he goes, all right, good call, Dobson. Why don't you gather all that stuff up and bring it to the, bring it back to the station. And he leaves. And I'm like, you want me to take all this? And then he had to come back. Yeah, all of it. All of it. Thank you. And he leaves. And I go, even the stuff that's pinned up had to come back in. Get it all, Dobson. You know what I mean? And the whole time Rob is just laughing his ass off because he sees that I keep bringing him back because he couldn't just leave the scene and let me have one last line. You know what I mean? Like a question off the thing. So it was pretty funny.
You were in the room too when Robert Trebert was naming all the Groucho names, and then Bill grabbed him by the shirt, and he said that famous line where he's like, "If you talk another derogatory word on Elvis Aaron Presley again, I will kick the living shit out of you." And then at the end he ends it by saying, "Fuck Groucho."
Yeah. And so that, in that particular scene, he didn't let that actor know. I think that actor's name was Matt. No. Marty? Marty is the character.
Yes. But his real name is Robert Trebert.
Oh, Robert, right. Okay. So Robert was great. And but he didn't let Robert know he was going to do that. He didn't let Robert know he was going to snap. You know what I'm saying? So that was a surprise to all of us that he went and did that. You know what I mean? I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So
great.
I was shocked, actually. I was a little like, oh wow, that was awesome. In the scene, I was like, that was good. But Robert really didn't know it was coming. So
and of course, another movie you were in, and this is one of my favorites too, was the 2008 Sex Drive as Bobby Joe.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. A lot that's underrated. A lot of people don't bring that one up again. I had a great time on that one. Yeah.
Great movie. And
what?
Sure.
Who? Yeah. Take your car. Yeah. What other car are you gonna take? No, because I'll bring you.
Now,
sorry about that.
No worries. Now, of course, you had your own TV. You had your own. You had your own 2004 TV movie, the Dave Sheridan Show. You want to talk about that?
No.
Okay.
No.
No
No,
worries.
we can talk about it. It didn't go. That was an experimental show that we did for WB. It was a pilot. We shot a pilot at for the WB, and I like doing that. It was cool. It was all improvised. One of the things I did on that, because I like playing with improvisation and like playing with the boundaries and skewing the realities of stuff. So, I had a hidden camera show and I did a lot of hidden camera stuff, but I wanted to try to tell more of a narrative in improvising it, but I utilized real people. So if you watch, I don't know if you've seen the show, but there's a lot of real people that are in the show that are just unknown, brought into the storyline, and I'm just interacting with them, but they don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, you were the original Sacha Baron Cohen's, and you were the original Eric Andre.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Because and again, that's what this stuff is. And what people saw, this is a good one. It's got great packaging, by the way. That's a joke. You know what I mean? The packaging.
Ooh, play on words.
So yeah, no, this was like 1990, 91. And that's all that is me immersing myself into the characters in reality. So when you talk about method acting, this early stuff, because that's what I did, that is probably the closest I get to method acting. When it comes to films and TV, I'm at the point now where it's very easy to turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I need to method act. I don't feel like that gets me a better performance. It probably would, if I was doing a movie like a Christian Bale type of thing where I was a POW in Cambodia and I had to lose all this weight and I'm on location in Cambodia, I probably would commit to a more thorough immersion into the character and what you would call method acting. But when you're like going home and you've got kids lacrosse practice and you got to walk the dogs and all this other stuff, and you've got a thing going on and my movies aren't paying me that much and my roles are smaller and they're horror movies and they're popcorn movies, I would probably go, I'll give you everything on set, but when I get in the car, I want to listen to, Neil Sedaka and relax,
You gotta do what you gotta do, of course. And would you say the same about your role when you were in the 2001 Corky Romano movie as Agent Terrence Darnell?
Yeah, that was one. What's interesting about that one, because that came right out of Scary Movie. Chris Kattan saw Scary Movie and he just contacted me and wanted me to be in his movie somewhere. And he said, will you play this FBI agent? And Roger Fan was my partner. And it was interesting going right from Scary Movie, where Doofy is so big. And the reason I actually liked Corky Romano was it was the complete opposite. Like I was going to go play a real button down, straight laced FBI agent and actually try to blend in to the walls. So the one thing that came out of that movie was a lot of people were like, oh, Dave wasn't that funny in it, or wow, he didn't really stand out in that movie. Like in Ghost World, I come in and I bowl over everything and I stand out, and I understand that I have the ability to do that in any movie, but as an actor, your job is to play the role and to be an ensemble, to play the role you're hired to be along with the other actors. You know what I mean? And so the Agent Darnell is a great case in point of that's what Chris wanted me to do, and they hired me to do is play this button down, FBI agent. I tried to be the best button down FBI agent I could be and bring something to it, right? Yeah. But it also is you're hiring a home run hitter to then, bunt down third every time, and so there's nothing wrong with that. I like to be a horse let off in the pasture and just go and, bigger roles in terms of where can the characters go. But it was also a good setup challenge for me to go, this is great, because I want to show people I can play that I can play the supporting cast member that is not stealing the scene. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like
So,
you're there, but you're not the main focus, right? Or did I?
right, exactly. Yeah.
And of course, you worked with the Wayne brothers once again in 2006 in the movie Little Man as Roscoe. Want to talk
Yeah.
about that?
That was just fun. That was just fun. You know what's so the biggest thing that came out of that was when we shot Little Man, there was a kid named Lyndon Porco. And Lyndon Porco is was the little man. He was 9 years old and he was already, he was a little person. He was a 9-year-old little person. So he's only like 16 inches. Today he's a little over 2 feet and he's 25 years old. I'm still friends with him. We do some conventions because he went on to take on some great roles as Chucky from Child's Play. He's played a lot of the various Chuckies and also Leprechaun. He's the new Leprechaun in the last few Leprechaun movies. And it was funny that I was like, dude, I've worked with him. He's 25 now. I'm working with him as a man, but it's like the first person I'm like, I worked with you when you were 9. And now I'm working with you when 25, and you're still the same size. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so it's fun. It's cool to see like when I ran into him again at age 25, I'm like, wait a second, I think I know you. And he knew me because I was already a grown up. I've aged, but I haven't changed to the degree of like going from a 9-year-old to a 25-year-old, So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. But so all of my scenes, I acted with Lyndon. And then Marlon's head was put on that later. Marlon was on set. Marlon actually was like, even though Keenan directed, Marlon was there like directing in a sense because he's directing Lyndon and the ideas that Marlon initially has, like, oh, do this, oh, do that, because that's what I'm going to do. And then Marlon would come in. It was almost like that thing of us, we would check out and he would check in. We would clock out, he'd clock in, where if we left the set at 6 p.m., Marlon would come in at 7 and he'd shoot from 7 to 7 a.m. and we'd go from 8 to 6 p.m. or whatever it is. And he would then on green screen, they would play everything back and he would match all of his takes with his voice, so that that night, then the next day, they were already putting his head on the baby in the scenes, digitally stitching it all together.
Interesting. So cool. And were there any like special effects too? And of course, in this next movie you were in, which was Bubble Boy as Mark.
Well, nowadays there's special effects in everything. Nothing. I mean, there's everything in major studio movies. There's not a frame that they don't touch up in some way. But Bubble Boy, I'm sure there was. I can't particularly remember special effects, but I'm sure there was. When he gets crowd surfed or something like that, there had to be, or dragged behind the thing. Stuff with Jake in the bubble. I'm sure there was special effects.
And you enjoyed working on that project,
Oh
right?
wait, I'll tell you one special effect that I remember,
Cool.
and I was psyched to be a part of it, which was there was a Land of the Lost spoof in that, where Marley Shelton was Holly and I was Will, and we were on the dinosaur. I think it was Babe or whatever the dinosaur's name was in the Land of the Lost, and there was Chaka or something, and it was all about immunities, but they made it look, and it was like the 70s Land of the Lost. They made it look like the real 70s Land of the Lost. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Sweet. And of course, you also have experience in voice acting too. And I was wanting to get your opinion on appearing in a cameo for Robot Chicken in 2011.
Yeah. Well, that came out of Sex Drive because Seth Green does Robot Chicken and he plays the Amish guy in Sex Drive, and we became friends on that set. And he was just like, oh, I want you to come and do a couple episodes of Robot Chicken, and I just did that. And I think I did Arlie Ermy, or I don't remember the characters I did on there. That was totally on the spot though. I didn't get anything ahead of time. There were just scripts there, and he goes, yeah, I thought try do your best Arlie Ermy, do your best this, and I was like, okay, great. And it was fun, a lot of fun. Well, I think the coolest memory of that was that who's the kid from
Hmm?
Lords of the Ring? Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood, yes.
He was there with me. We were in the recording studio together, and I never met him before. So that was cool, hanging out with Elijah Wood.
Incredible experience.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a couple more questions before we conclude, though. And of course, one of them is we talked about voice acting. And I'm going to tell you an anecdote that I've heard on a Simpson commentary because I'm a huge fan of The Simpsons. Kirk Douglas one time claimed that he hated using headphones because it hurt his ears. When recording, headphones on or off for you?
I do it. Sometimes I do one on and one off so I can hear a clearer thing and then sort of what I'm also hearing in the air. But most of the time I do headphones on, and I actually turn it up a lot, where I'd rather hear the headphones and not hear anything. I can't hear both, you know what I mean? Unless I'm going to take one off. But sometimes I turn it all the way up so it's just the headphones and I'm hearing what's in the mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because
And
you definitely hear your own voice differently. You know what I mean? Unless you kind of do that. That's why they have that, suck it to me. Like what was that guy from Laughing? Harry Owens. Meanwhile, the
coming up
wonderful
next.
twin. Meanwhile, at the what is it like the back? It's the
Oh,
Justice League. Meanwhile, at the Justice League. So
that's
Gary Owens, he was good.
he was. God rest his soul. And pro or antagonist that you prefer playing?
If I was literate, if I could read, I would know what that means. I'm joking. I think I played the antagonist a lot more than I played the protagonist. So, but I'd like to. If I'm working, I don't care. I'd rather. That's great, man. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that aren't playing either right now. So.
Well, you nail any role. I mean, you could be a good guy, bad guy, neutral. It doesn't matter. You just nail every role, and that's a total fact.
Yeah.
The next question.
I'm non-binary. I'm the non-binary protagonist, antagonist, NPC character.
Oh, bless your heart, Mrs. Sheridan. The next question I have too. This is gonna be a silly gag question. I ask this question to every one of my guest stars, and that is: when I'm not on a strict, almost like military diet, I am an absolute foodie. And you worked on so many production companies. Which one had the best catering?
That's a great question. Really good question.
I love food.
That is a hard question too to answer. I just was on a set that it was unbelievable food. Yeah, that was good. It was actually this show called Macabre Mountain in West Virginia. Low budget thing, but it wasn't about the budget. It's always about the cook. And because we were shooting mostly around this hotel, the hotel was like, you can have our kitchen. And then the local lady that was like the mother of one of the producers there, she was just a great cook. You know what I mean? She knew how to cook really good, but also for the masses, with the whole like, okay, it's baked ziti today and it's this. And the one thing she would do is all her pies. She was cooking homemade pies and desserts every night. And they were really good. It was like, that's Butterfinger s'mores. And this is, peanut butter, something. It was just like really good. These kind of like cheesecake type of dessert pies, So I gained some weight on that one. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And the final question I have for you is what's next for Dave Sheridan? Now, this is a part of my show where because my show is an open forum, this is the part where you can talk about, promote, hype, say anything you want, and you're gonna love this part. It's absolute no filters. The floor is yours, Mr. Sheridan. Here you go. I'm passing the proverbial microphone on to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, first off, I don't know when this is going to air, but if this plays in December, there's a movie called The Christmas Tapes, and it'll be out December 16th, streaming everywhere, Amazon Prime, Apple, I don't know what all the other devices. It's also will be on Blu-ray, and also it's coming out on VHS. It's actually pretty funny. I improvised the whole thing. It's an anthology. It's myself and Vernon Wells. There's like different Christmas shorts that are done on VHS, and it's all about this family that's kidnapped, not kidnapped, but a home intruder comes in, ties them up. It's right when they're going to watch like Elf or The Grinch or the usual Christmas fare. We like watching The Christmas Story. And he ties them up and goes, fuck those Christmas, you know, those old Christmas movies. Every year you watch them, you already know it. I've got something new. And then he pops in these tapes, and they're just these horrific Christmas horror stories. You know what I mean? They're homemade tapes. They're kind of like Blair Witchy, paranormal. Like mine is a kind of a take on Paranormal Activity. You know what I mean? So it's all found footage. Everything that you see is from the cameras above or the person running the camera. So that movie's out. It's called The Christmas Tapes. But we are actively in pre-production right now on a New Year's Eve horror movie called New Fear's Eve. And that one, we're going to shoot at the end of January. And we're actively doing an Indiegogo right now. So on Indiegogo New Fear's Eve, there's ways to get involved with this movie, from being a producer to acting to buying my chair back, the knife of the killer's mask, the bloody shirt I'm wearing, or just going for the signed, limited edition, first edition Blu-ray, signed by the cast. And so I really like that. I'm a big fan of getting those Blu-rays off of Indiegogo. Because I've done a few of these Indiegogos. This is the first one that I'm more involved with in trying to promote. The other ones, people call me and is like, hey, we're doing an Indiegogo. Do you want to be in this movie? I go, let me read the script. Sure. Can we say you're acting in the movie? Yeah. And but the movies that I've been involved with like that, I've always gotten these Blu-rays these limited edition. And they're like the first edition Blu-rays, and then they go and get distributing with Lionsgate. And the Blu-ray that I got is nothing like the Blu-ray that comes out, because this one was made by the director and he only made 500, and the artwork is different, the credits are different, the cut is usually longer, there's usually deleted scenes, they'll toss in extras on that. It's just not the official Blu-ray. It's automatically a collector's item. And that's the coolest thing about it, I think, with Indiegogo, is you have these opportunity to pre-order a Blu-ray before the movie's even made, and you're getting it direct from the director or the filmmaker. So and I guess the reason I like it, because it goes back to this old style of there was no YouTube, so if you wanted to get your movies out, you had to make them. I mean, look, this thing is shrink wrapped and everything, dude, from like 1993. I haven't opened it. It's so funny, it just crumbles out, so.
Let me just say two things. You won't have to wait long for this interview, because as soon as we're done with this interview, I will be working on it ASAP, and it will be up tonight. I promise you. You won't have to wait long. And you mentioned Vernon Wells. I actually had that gentleman on my show twice. He's a wonderful, much like yourself, Mr. Sheridan. He's a wonderful human being.
Yeah, he's a much more wonderful human being, and
Yes.
he's what? You agree? What the fuck? Oh yeah, he's way more wonderful than you, Dave. Yeah. But he's a gentleman. He's a gentleman, and he has that Australian accent that makes him sound a little more gentleman. But most Australians are not gentlemen like that. They're like. And the one thing about Vernon is he definitely is a guy that always plays a lot of the heavies. You know what I mean? And so when you meet him, he's like the sweetest old grandpa in the world. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's older now, so that's why I think of him like a grandpa. But he'll probably punch me in the face for saying that. But I mean, I guess he's more like my older brother. Fine, Vernon. So, but he's definitely the opposite of the way he comes off on the films. I think I have different characters. So I definitely played versions of just Dave. You don't meet me going like, oh, wow, I didn't know he'd be like that. I guess. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I will say one thing too. Like, two of you are my favorite actors. I told Vernon one time that he was a mixture. Like, if you were to put Tim Curry, Robin Williams, and Robert Stack in a blender, you would get Vernon. Like, for you, like, I would say you're so charismatic. You're so freaking funny. You remind me so much of the late great Phil Hartman.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love Phil Hartman.
Same here, and especially what he did on Saturday Night Live and The Simpsons, just great stuff.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm doing. Remember how he used to do the caveman lawyer guy.
Oh yeah, from Saturday Night Live.
I am just a simple caveman. You know what I mean? 'Cause I thought of that the other day where it was like, because I'm doing a movie. In fact, one of the writers just another thing I'm getting up and running is a movie. It's like a scary movie, like the scary movies. It's called Canceled Movie, and it's all about all this taboo stuff that you just can't have anymore in society, and it's going to be very over the top. It's going to be equally offensive to everybody. You know, I think one of our taglines is you're going to love half the movie and you're going to hate half the movie. So either show up early or leave late, you know what I mean? Or something like that. So, or maybe it's show up late or leave early. So, but one of the bits I wrote the other day was the first, woke human, which is it's the first woke caveman. It's going to be a caveman that is woke, and PC, the politically correct caveman, who's with the other cavemen are like, what the fuck is that guy's problem? Why is he offended? The first offended caveman.
I can't wait to watch that. And before we conclude, two last things before we conclude, and that is Mr. Sheridan, you have this you are one of the most charismatic, and you have so much talent. In addition to that, you have this incredible gift.
Listen to this guy.
You have this incredible gift, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record saying this, but where you could take a 30-something-year-old fan and make him feel like that 10-year-old all over again after watching a scary movie, or make him feel like that 15-year-old watching The Devil's Reject.
Right. Well, thank you, man.
No problem. And one last thing before you conclude, and I feel like you deserve that, and it is thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave.
Kid. I got fans.
Yes.
My kids don't care.
Die-hard fan, sir. You have an awesome night, and don't you worry, I will send you a copy of this interview as soon as it's done edited, and it won't take long.
What's the name of your show again? It's Petey's what? Awesome Guest?
Petey's Awesome Guest Panel.
Okay. Hey, this is Dave Sheridan, and you're watching Petey's Awesome Guest Panel. Why not? He's had me, so I must be awesome.
Yes, you are. Thank you so much, sir, for a great interview, and thank you for those, not only for this interview, but thank you for those countless memories you gave me watching all the movies you were in as a child.
Yeah. Where are you at, man?
Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah, I kind of figured. You sound like it.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
Have a great night, Mr. Sheridan, and it was awesome talking to you, sir.
All right, you too, man. Thanks, Pete. Bye.
Bye-bye.